I'd like to call this meeting to order pursuant of Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. I hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of the meeting. Could we go around with a roll call as to who's here? Beth, could you do that to keep it organized? Just call the names and we'll say here or not.
Okay. Buck Donovan,
Here.
Matt Carlino,
Here.
Peter Blum,
Here.
Dave Forrest,
Here.
Gordon Bailey,
Here.
Heather,
Here,
And Heather, who are you representing?
I'm representing Jason and Todd Bush,
Okay,
property at 395 Summer Street.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kathy Hall,
Here,
Janet Warner,
here,
And it
Peg
looks
Byron.
like Peg's coming in.
yep. And then I have one that just reads iPad.
Okay, you could let them in and ask them to identify themselves? I don't see them yet. Oh. There's one person in here identified as iPad. Could you state your name and for the record, please?
Peg Byron.
Yep, we see you, Peg. There's one other
Okay,
person.
Sorry, Buck. Okay.
Yep,
Just go
thank you.
ahead.
We're doing a roll call so we can have a record of everyone that's in the meeting.
Okay.
Identified as iPad.
They're muted. They may not know how to unmute.
Yep, please unmute.
Well, I guess they don't want to do it or they can't do it. If they speak, Buck, I would suggest you require them to identify themselves.
I just don't want
I guess
to,
if they want to sit anonymously. Oh, there they go. There they go. Hello?
Yep.
Mute. the
hello,
mute
could you
button off.
please identify who you are?
Hello?
Yes, iPad.
Yes, Rob Wright.
Okay, and do you have business with us tonight or just listening in?
Just a participant.
Okay, all right. It's a little different here, so we're just, we usually have a clipboard when we're in person, but we don't have that, so. First up, open up our public hearing that's ongoing about our zoning bylaws. And about this, I see a letter from Chris Britton. And he's looking to go with March 24th for a special town meeting.
Is that in the back? Is that in the backup, Buck?
It is. It is. Let me get back to it here.
I didn't see it.
It's in the original email that Beth sent.
There we go. Does that come up okay?
Yeah. Yep. Great. That's great.
So that's what we're looking at. So Beth is going to be, have you looked at the code 360? Does it match up? Are you, I know it's a pretty big task, but how are we doing?
I'm looking at it. This is it right here. There's a couple things that I need to touch base with Peter. I think that one of the ones that we changed where we had originally put seek town council, Peter came up with some wording for me and it doesn't look like it was changed on here. And I just need to get the wording from Peter again.
Okay. So we should postpone consideration once again to the next meeting then, so that we can keep this public hearing rolling to make further changes.
Okay,
I'll move that we, what do I want to do, Buck? I want to recess the
Continue.
public hearing until the next meeting at 6 PM, which will
Yes.
be,
continue it.
which will be the second Monday in February.
Yep, which is, oh boy, that's the 14th.
Mm,
That's pretty close, huh?
mm.
Well, it'd be a month away.
Yeah, a month and
So-
10 days.
Yeah, a month
Okay.
and 10 days.
We're gonna have to settle it up that night, though.
We will, yes. Are there any, do I have a second on that to continue?
I'll say, Matt Carlino will second. Say 6 o'clock. I'll amend that motion to say 6 o'clock on the 14th.
Okay. Do we have anybody else in the audience has any comments or discussion on our proposed zoning? Okay,
Buck, I'll just say that I had that conversation with a person about the chickens, and she was gonna go talk to the Agricultural Commission, and I have not heard back from her.
okay,
So I guess I'll just take that as, if she doesn't call me back, I won't report anything further.
yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion. I ran across something on social media where people were talking that we're not gonna allow anyone to have horses in town. And I'm like, I don't know where they
No.
got that from.
No.
I'm like, no. So.
I do have,
Peg's-
Go ahead, Peg.
thank you. Would this include now about the signs, or would this just include the E code and the conversations that we've had about different rezoning issues on February, whatever?
14th.
Yes.
I believe it's just going to be the articles that we have prepared and the code 360.
No
Okay.
signs, no
Not,
signs.
not the signs yet.
Well, there-
No,
There is a thing about the signs being repaired.
we do,
No.
I think Peg's asking about the,
I'm asking about, yeah, go ahead, Bob.
free speech signs and political
Yes.
signs.
That is not in the set that's gonna be up for town meeting in March. But there are, I didn't want to leave the record unclear. There are some minor revisions about repair of signs.
Right.
Okay, so when would they be up? Because we did have quite a bit of controversy about that. I'm just curious.
Whenever you, as far as I'm concerned, I'm ready to roll anytime you guys want to put it on the agenda.
Well,
Okay.
we actually, I think we need to do it for the regular annual meeting, because I think if I remember, Chris Ketchen did say in a letter that we would address that at the next annual meeting. So I think,
Mhm.
we should start working on that
Agreed.
political sign right away, so that we follow through on that.
Okay, so when would that be on the next agenda, or when would that be on?
Well, that's up to the
I
chairman.
mean,
but-
I'm just asking the chair.
Would it be too much to have it in the next meeting?
Yeah, probably.
I think so.
I think so. I mean, we can get it done. It's a small.
We,
it's a s-
Peter can
small
get
bu-
it done.
Well,
It
remember,
is, it's a small change.
it's a small
No,
thing, and
no.
not only that, we should have back,
Well,
we should have Beth follow up with Jeremiah, because Jeremiah was going to give us some examples of what to produce. So if Beth can
Which-
follow up with him on that.
Which he did do way back a long time ago. But,
Nobody can find it though, right?
well, I think I have it here in my packet. I
I
mean, what he
do.
was talking about.
I never saw it.
Um,
Beth, did you have it?
I don't think I got any specific examples. He talked about it at one of our in-person meetings.
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
Said he would
okay.
send something our way, but I didn't receive anything.
we never got anything.
So let's,
I'm just not quite sure.
Well, if
It
Peg
doesn't matter to me as long as we do it very soon, because I don't want, I personally, I'm only speaking for myself. I don't want the ACLU to come down on us because they did, it was brought up a while ago, and I just don't want us to be not cooperative at this point in time.
Could I say, Mr. Chairman, that I don't know where the board is going to go. I haven't had any reaction at all so far from board members to the draft that I circulated some weeks ago. But there are potentially very large issues in that draft that could require some, go ahead,
Hold
Peg.
on, Peg.
Go ahead and interrupt, Peg.
Sorry, I was interrupting you, Peter. I agree with you.
There are some very large issues that could require, I think, some protracted discussion and careful consideration. For example, there is a Supreme Court case on signs that is extremely broad. And I think the board members are going to want to maybe read that case and the dissent before taking a position on what we should do. The Supreme Court decided a case involving a Christian community that was, whose signs had been found to be in violation of the local bylaw. And the way the court decided that case, according to the dissent, was extremely broad and threatening to almost any kind of classification of signs that a municipality might want to make. And I think that the dissent is probably a little overboard in setting forth the fear, but I also think that this current Supreme Court is very biased in favor of religious plaintiffs. And so this is one of the more difficult constitutional issues to sort of suss out what the Supreme Court is going to do. And at its broadest, we would have to abolish most of the classifications in our sign bylaw. And I don't want to do that, and I don't think you're going to want to do that after you've read everything, but you have to read the stuff and think it over. And so I do think if we're going to try to get this ready for town meeting, we should really get it underway with it.
agreed. Peg, would you like to
Yeah.
say something?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't disagree with you, Peter. However, I do feel that in our sign bylaw, there are certain things that we could strike immediately that basically are unconstitutional. And I think,
Could you tell me what those are sometime?
sure, I'd be happy to. I believe it says that after a certain amount of time, you have to take down a political sign, or you have to do this, do that.
Yeah, I've
And-
taken care of that.
Well, I
Oh my
haven't seen, or you maybe have sent that, but if we're not putting it up, I think there are some things that could be, Peter, very easily stricken from our bylaw that basically are unconstitutional, because I do think some of the things that unfortunately were allowed to be in the bylaw have now changed. Gilbert, Arizona was in 1954, and there are many other cases that we could all go on and on about, but that's not really what I would want to do. I just want to get something to make sure that the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, does not come back in a certain time. And you're right, Mr. Ketchum, our previous town person, did say that in May, there would be something. I just don't want us to be in a bad situation.
Well, I don't
And
either.
I know.
Peg,
And that's why some of the things might be extremely easy, but as you're correct, Peter, we could go back and forth many times on different things.
yeah,
And they may not be as easy as we think. And the religious thing, of course.
Okay,
Okay, that,
So-
those are.
so
comments.
here's the
Okay.
thoughts.
Okay,
We have Peter's draft that he's worked on. Peg, why
Right.
don't you go through and you mark up what you think the changes should be also, and
Sure.
get those to us, and we will
Sure.
look at those for February 28th.
okay, good.
Okay?
Thank you. That's fine.
And
That's good.
we'll circulate those prior, so everybody can take a look.
I've circulated them twice already.
Yep.
but,
Yes,
you
you
have.
have. I thought they were a little bit- I thought they were a little bit too much over the top, but that's my opinion. And maybe other people don't think that way, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Majority rules. So I would be happy to do that. And then maybe on February 28th, we could discuss.
We will.
Yes,
But-
okay, great.
But could I ask that Beth send them to town council for comment now?
Perfect. Yes.
Wonderful. I agree.
Okay, Matt?
The only
Oh,
other
I'm
thing I
sorry,
want to
Peter, are
say,
you done?
the only
Peter?
one quick thought. Peg, I don't know how much we have to give up to the ACLU in order to get them to not be mad at us. At the most, at the broadest interpretation of the Supreme Court decision, we would have to abandon any distinction between business signs and other signs. And I don't think you want to do that, and I know I don't want to do that.
Well, I certainly don't want to do that, Peter, and I don't know if the Supreme Court decision, again, there's always two sides. When you have lawyers, it's always two sides. I don't think
really.
that was said. I think it was more about political signs, where that is where I am at this point in time, but I'll be glad to read everything over and come back on the February 28th. I'd be happy to discuss that with you, Peter.
Okay, give me a call.
Okay, I'd be happy to.
And Peg, why don't you mark it up and get it to the
Yes.
rest of the board prior to that, please?
Sure, thank you.
Okay,
Be happy to. Thank you.
okay. Matt?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I appreciate Peter's work on the initial draft, but I think we should go right to town council on this one.
Mhm.
I just, he was there, he was vocal about it. We had the big meeting about it. He said he was gonna give. Does someone want to talk?
Peg, it doesn't,
I'm
it
agreeing.
doesn't
I'm
work for
agreeing
you
with you.
to
Sorry.
agree while people are talking on Zoom. It
Sorry,
just doesn't
sorry.
work.
Oh, okay. So I just think we should go right to town council. He's the one who said he would get us something. If he wants to come to the meeting, but he said he would provide us with something that works, to give us something to discuss. So I don't know if we should get into a big discussion about a big bylaw. I think we're gonna have to get Jeremiah's approval on this, because it was an important issue. So I just think we should go right to him. That's my,
By
That's
going
fine.
right to him, you mean just don't send him my draft, but ask him to do a different draft?
he offered that up. And we're here now. And for us to follow through on the commitment that Chris Ketchen stated in the letter, and I could be wrong, but I thought he stated that in the letter. I think we need him to get it. We need his okay anyways before we go to town warrant. So I think we should follow through on that.
I agree that we should get town council involved as meaningfully and as early as possible. But not having received anything from him for what has it been, 4 months since he promised us that stuff? I went ahead and did some research on my own and made a draft, which I have circulated twice to the board, and which I think discusses all of the issues that came up at the public hearing. So I would like town council to review my draft and comment on it. If he finds something somewhere else that I've overlooked, I'll be happy to learn about that. Or if he sees a bylaw somewhere else that would be more suitable, I'd be happy to discuss the differences with him. But telling him to start over from scratch and ignore the work that I've done, I'm not in favor of.
I'm okay following the same protocol. I just think we should get him to respond right away. It's been a while since we had that meeting and we haven't asked for anything again. So I think we just should make that effort and have the discussion on both or an alternative, whatever the best result is for the town. But I just think we need to get him involved right away, if that's possible.
I'm not sure where it got lost in the shuffle, but I did come up with an old email from Jeremiah. And he talked to the AG. It looks like there's a case Reed. Ring a bell, Peter?
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
decision to Dover and Millbury. I'm gonna forward this to everybody.
So
Mhm.
these are not drafts. These are case decisions that he's
For
told us about.
cases. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't have in mind all the cases, but I could certainly prepare to brief you on them. Send it to me and I'll send you back a comment.
you got it. Peg?
Yes, I also have Shutesbury Annual Town Meeting, July 27th, 2020, case number 9829. And this was different things that he had sent to us as well. Jeremiah Pollard. So those are sort of interesting too. And
Could you send those, could you send that along to me, Peg?
I'd be happy to, Peter. Thank you. I just think it's an important issue and I don't want to be left. And I do agree with Matt that we got to get going on this very soon and hopefully he will. I know you have, Peter, too, but I also feel that lawyers are, everybody's got a different view. Okay, thank you.
All set. Gordon?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chairman, if we're starting to email things around to people, make sure that there's printed copies to go in the front folder out in the lobby or wherever they post so that the public can see what's getting sent around, or there could be a violation of the open meeting law.
Okay.
So, anything that goes around like that, that's going to be considered needs to be made public. Thank you.
You got that, Beth? Okay, so this will be our top priority, February 28th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for the work you have already done on it. So we have a motion and a second on the floor to continue this. I guess I'll just go down and take a vote to continue it. Matt?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Peg?
Bye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Public hearing of proposed zoning amendments will be continued to February 14th at 6 o'clock. Next up, 395 Summer Street. I believe we have a representative to give us a little overview on
Hi.
this.
Hi, it's Heather Brown from Foresight Land Services.
Yep.
And I'll be representing Todd and Jason Bush at 395 Summer Street. They're looking to create a Form A lot, which would be Lot 3 would be coming out of the parcel that used to be Lot 2, which is now Lot 2A. I have the zoning for both zones in the lower left-hand corner to show where it falls. So you see the zoning line coming through.
Can you flip this around, Buck? So we can read the.
Yep.
And maybe make it full screen.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go so fast. I didn't realize you were sharing the screen.
There we go.
Just reduce the magnification, Buck, a little bit so we can
Yep.
see. Good.
Okay, so we're gonna cut, you want to cut this lot out right here, Lot 3, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Where'd I leave off?
there is
well-
a zoning
um,
line goes through it, huh?
Yeah, it does. And that was, I took it from your zoning map and I scaled it as best I could, and it looked to be like 400 feet off of the center line of the road. And it was extended on the opposite side of the road.
Okay,
So that's where I got that zoning line from. I couldn't find anything in the documentation that actually gave me a nice clean dimension there. And the scaling was close to 400, so that's what I held. And that's the only reason why it says approximate zoning district line or approximate zoning district.
huh, yes, funny. This has been coming up regular now. You're not the first one.
Okay. Where lot 3 is divided, it's almost exactly in half. I got 47.4% in the residential agricultural, and I got 52.6% in the residential. And as of right now, I'm not sure what the family is doing with the lot, but it's staying within the family. So I'm assuming it's going to go to a relative.
Yeah.
I also took into consideration that curve on Summer Street and asked them how they were going to access the lot. And they said if they do move forward with building anything on that lot, they're considering a common drive. So that's why that driveway parcel, that small section, is still shown on the plan.
Really? That could be problematic, but
It's an existing access, so that's why I left it on
yeah,
there.
okay. All right. There.
But I have brought it to their attention that could be a potential issue if they try to access coming straight into the lot.
I mean, we've done, right? I know Gordon will know on this one. You can do an easement, can't you, for something like that? Like right here, Gordon? I think I've seen
well,
that done before.
It's a problem for down the road. There's a general law that deals with shared driveways up to 2 lots. But
Correct.
our bylaw also addresses shared driveways for length and the amount that it's shared. But again, that's not really something for consideration for a Form A. All you have to find out is, do they have the right frontage?
Mhm.
If they have adequate frontage on a way, it's not a subdivision, therefore you got to sign off on the Form A. And
Right.
down the road, somebody has to make those other decisions.
Correct.
So what do we have here, Heather?
A Form A, sir.
Yeah, but we,
Oh,
frontage.
I'm sorry. Frontage along the
The
curve.
length of frontage is the issue. And I think they
It's
meet it from what I saw.
They have more than 125 feet.
Oh, yeah, much more. Is that 260 something? Am I seeing that right?
The
Right
curve,
there.
the length along the curve is 168.
Oh, okay.
And look at the other lot too. In lot 3 and lot 2A both need to meet. in their
Yep,
zoning
2A is
districts.
218
Mhm, yeah,
and then 168. Okay,
I'll motion to approve the Form A on, what's the address? 390, is it 395?
Correct.
395 Summer Street.
I'll second.
okay. Hearing a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Peter,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Dave,
I,
Peg,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. So endorsed.
I want to say thank you to the board for endorsing this Form A for the Bush property. And I also want to say thank you for having this meeting in Zoom. It has actually been a pleasure and a lot easier for me to make the meetings lately. So I greatly appreciate what the towns are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
We
Aye.
should all go in, we should all go in and sign the Mylar, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Generally, we keep a certain number of copies signed other than just the Mylar. I don't know what the
Right.
board's policy
Or-
is at the moment, but make sure you get enough copies for us to keep on file.
Yeah, I think we usually keep 4, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, next up, we have this Erskine Drive debacle.
I don't know if I don't think that anybody's here tonight representing those.
I think that's fine. I think we can discuss it amongst
Okay.
ourselves.
Well, I'll start, Mr. Chairman, if that's all right.
Yep,
Um,
I got this.
So.
There we go.
So I did a little bit of investigating on this, and I realized as I was investigating it that some of the mysterious stuff that you all were talking about last time finally started to make sense. There's an old routine in the Bob Newhart show about here's my brother Daryl and here's my other brother Daryl. I think that maybe there was some Newhart writers involved in this because we have 2 Erskine Park developments on 2 Golden Hill roads, and they're different from each other. And the first one that happened in time is, I guess, now called Pinnacle Way. And it sounded like Dave and maybe Buck, maybe, I don't know if the rest of you knew about this. But when I heard Pinnacle Way at the last meeting, I didn't understand what was going on. So I now understand that there was a development in 2004 that is today known as Pinnacle Way, and another one in 2006, which was produced by Erskine Park LLC. And the application was prepared by SK Design. And as I understand it, the people that we met with last time are all involved in complaining about the second subdivision. Is that right?
Yes, and it's also changed ownership since.
Right. So I went back again to town hall after looking over what I had. I went back to town hall and I found some documents which I want to review with you. And I took photocopies and Beth scanned them and sent them out with the materials for tonight's meeting. But in the interim, after getting that from Beth, I pulled out the 3 pages and I made a PDF with comments on it, which you all should have received. Can I put my screen up, Buck?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead? I have all your stuff here, but why don't you go ahead? I'll stop sharing.
So you should be seeing the Form C2 Certificate of a Definitive Plan for the 2006 subdivision. And I just to preview for you, I'm not sure that I really understand what happened here. Maybe some of you actually remember this. Were you involved, Buck, or Gordon? Were you involved?
I was not on the board of selectmen I wasn't on the board of planning board at that time.
Yeah, anyway, so this looks like it's the approval of a definitive plan, which I think means the final approval, subject to whatever filings come in routinely afterwards. And one of the conditions, I don't know if you can see where my cursor is, there's conditions, there's 1 through 4, and then there's one again. I don't know how that works, but anyway, number 4 appears to be a requirement for a bond or covenant for the construction of underground utilities and roads that is approved by town council. So it looks like in this first instance, the town is saying, we want to make sure those utilities are installed properly. And we're going to require some sort of a bond or covenant to ensure that happens. Then further down in paragraph, the second one, subparagraph B. Well, first of all, there's no conditions listed under 1A. That's just left blank. And then in 1B, it says that the covenant it has to be approved by the planning board. And I don't know if there's any evidence that the planning board ever approved the covenant, but later on it says the council has to approve the covenant. So let's go to that. Here's a requirement on paragraph 2 that says all construction, including the road and utilities, must be completed within 12 months. So the board apparently thought it was imposing a construction timeline, 16 years ago. And, but they never really said what would happen if the construction timeline is not complied with. Then in paragraph 4, all utilities serving structures served by the streets shall be satisfactorily installed before issuance of any occupancy permits. Well, so that apparently was the remedy. At least at the moment they were writing this, they thought the remedy was if they don't install the utilities, the people who build houses there can't get certificates of occupancy, which is an extremely poor remedy. I mean, it leaves the buyers that we talked with last time really in the lurch. But that's what they said. And then go
Peter,
ahead.
can I just mention one thing?
Yeah.
So this 2006, I think the original developers, they went belly up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it even is worth going through all this stuff for that reason, because it was taken over by another developer. So I don't know if.
Well, I'm more than halfway through, Matt. I've only got.
No, it's
two or
fine.
three
I just
things.
wanted to mention that in case.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll see what happens with that point on the next page.
Oh, okay.
So then down in paragraph 8, they approve waivers. And the waivers seem to be waiving design and construction of municipal sewer collection systems. Well, did they think they were going to get individual septic systems? That's what it looks like to me. And then I don't even know what C or D means. I guess it meant that the town did not insist upon municipal water or sewer. Is that how you guys read that?
Well, I think they're saying design and construction of, well, it could go both ways, but maybe a private septic system for the development.
Yeah, so they seem to be allowing for the possibility of private septic and private water, I think, but it's hard to know.
But they're on town sewer up there, I believe. So
Yeah, so but they're not happy with that, right? Didn't they have complaints about that?
no, they were saying they didn't know if the they were saying they didn't know if the sewer and water was underground up there, and I believe it is. And we
Okay.
were saying
Okay.
they got to talk to the DPW. So I don't know if
Yeah,
they followed up with the DPW.
That may all get solved then. Good.
Yeah.
All right. So then here in this third page is the covenant, so-called, that may or may not have been approved by town council or by the planning board, depending on which part of the prior documents they thought they were going to follow. And paragraph 2, in answer to Matt's original question, says the covenant shall run with the land and be binding on the executors, et cetera, and their successors entitled to the premises shown. So assuming that the Massachusetts courts would allow this kind of covenant to run with the land, which I think is a good assumption, and assuming that it was properly recorded, the buyers of the subdivision, the current owners, should have noticed that they're bound by whatever it is that was the previous owner was bound by. And then here's what they gave the town. Paragraph 3 is really the only thing that the subdivider gave the town. And it's, I don't know if I should say it's nothing, but it's very little. So what did they promise? They promised that they will construct lots 2 through 8 in accordance with the applicable rules and regulations of this board, this planning board. Well, I have no idea what those rules and regulations are. Does anybody know?
Peter, I have a question. Do we have a plan for this development on file anywhere?
Yeah, the 2006 subdivision came in with a big thick packet. Most of it was flowage analysis about, how much surface water would run off during a rainstorm and that kind of thing. But it's probably 3/4 of an inch, Dave, and it's available in Beth's office. And I looked through it. I didn't find much that was that interesting to me, but you might want to go down and look through it.
Well, why I'm asking is I went up there and looked myself. First, I talked to Al Zerbato, and he told me that there is a water line on Golden Hill, what I call the extension that goes towards Lennoxdale. It shows the water line running into the project. So I went up and took a look, and sure enough, I found a patch with a curb box in it, right where it showed on his map. And his map only shows the water line coming in.
Is it for all of the lots, Dave, or just one of the lots?
No, if you drove in there, I went down, there is a hydrant at the end of the cul-de-sac. That tells me the water line is in place.
You're talking about the Erskine Drive, the one that's off?
I'm talking about Erskine Drive, correct.
Yeah, okay, good.
And also the first lot you come to, left-hand side of the development, there is one curb box for water still in place, and the force main. Now that is the sewer line, and that sewer line was run down Golden Hill Road down to Laurel, Route 7 and 20, and tied into the sewer down there. There's I can find no plans on that either, but I know it was done because the force main, they stuck it out of the ground on this first lot that I came to on the left-hand side, right across the street from where Sorrentino lives. So I heard that LB Corp was involved with a water line. When the developer went bellies up, payment was never made to the company. So they went up and pulled out all of the curb stops. So we have to find them is going to be a trick. But you can see, again, if you drive in there and you look, you can see where they excavated area and didn't do a nice backfill. And I would guess the force main and the water lines are all in that rough backfilled area.
Yeah.
There is a contractor who has left an excavator up on that street down by the cul-de-sac with a site truck and a loader. And I believe that his name is Tatro from Hinsdale. I think he's the man to talk to because the curbs are in. The base course is down for blacktop. I looked at all the transformer pads. Somebody had to do an electrical plan and had to have Eversource involved to locate all all the conduit that's sticking out of the ground, and the transformer pad locations, and the manholes right before the transformer pads.
Yeah,
So it's just somehow, and it's really not our baby to find all this stuff. We're being very cordial in doing all this work for these local people. Yes, they will be a good tax base, but there's too much missing. I say the plans for the whole development showing water and sewer locations. Usually when you have a plan for development, it shows everything, shows where the water line goes, shows where the water connections are gonna be, shows where to leave the stubs for the sewer. Everything is on a plan. And that's the plan I don't seem to be able to put my hands on.
well, I think, I don't know if it's there or not, Dave, but I know there's a lot of maps in that filing from 2006. And I'm not enough of an engineer to know whether it includes all of what you just described. But it sounds to me like the real problem here is financial. That, you know, if the thing had been financed adequately, none of these problems would be facing us right now. But the question that I pose for myself, and the reason I'm going through all of this with you, is the question is, what is our role? And does the current developer owe the town anything that we should try to enforce? And I'm just about done here, but I'm going to say in the end, I don't think so, because I mean, I think that this thing was a god awful mess the way it was done. And the covenant, this covenant, which I was talking about a minute ago, all they promised to do was to build the utilities according to our regulations, which we have none. And furthermore, they said, well, they won't, until they do so, they won't sell any lots except for lots that have mortgages on them. Well, what? You know, so, I mean, I'm accustomed to reviewing commercial deals that go bad, but I am not accustomed to reviewing commercial deals where you can't even tell what the hell they were trying to do. And that's what I'm seeing here. So I guess my conclusion is that there's very little, if anything, that a town ought to involve itself with here. Thank you.
Gordon?
I'll stop sharing now.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as the rules and regulations of the board, if you, the planning board is adopted, basically you do have rules and regulations about subdivisions, and it's basically the language that you find in the general law. I think it's chapter 40, section 81, but it's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way through like J and K and all that. So the board regulations are basically the subdivision control regulations of the Commonwealth. I know from past board experience that every subdivision is supposed to be guaranteed one of two ways. Either that by bond, meaning that the developer puts up enough money so that if they go belly up, the town can step in and contract out to have the actual road finished, the utilities, sidewalks, everything that may be shown on the subdivision plan, probably one of the plans that you said were in the file. That's one of the ways. It's by bond. Most people don't want to bond that much money out, and they generally do it by land covenant, which means that no one can get a building permit for construction until the developer puts the road in, all the utilities in, everything for every house. It's all in place and accepted by the planning board that it meets the land covenant requirements as found in the general law. The whole thing about mortgagee, if the planning board had accepted a bond, then individual lots can be actually sold at that time, because in theory, the town would go in and build out the road and utilities, and whoever bought an individual lot and started construction, they wouldn't be out for long because the town would step in and finish all that stuff.
Right.
That's why you're reading the issues about the mortgages and whatnot. That's depending on which bonding way they went. And all of this is up, you'd have to look and see, well, was it a land covenant? Or was it obviously it didn't sound like it was a bonding, a financial bond, or the board would have a copy of that. So my guess
It
is
was not,
land
it was,
covenant.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Gordon, but it was
Yeah, no,
not a
that's fine.
bond. It was a land covenant, and
Sure,
that was what I was showing on my
Yeah.
screen.
sure.
Uh,
In which
Okay.
case, the mortgagee stuff is kind of irrelevant, but other than it says that if with a land covenant, what that language means is that someone can go in and buy the entire subdivision, not an individual lot. They can buy the entire subdivision, which we have had happen before in a couple of places in town, where somebody else came in, bought the entire subdivision, finished it all off. And I'm not saying that this was worded correctly. I'm just telling you that's what the general law requires. And as the rules and regulations the board adopted by adopting those bylaws and the legal bylaws and law, those are the only two ways to guarantee a covenant. And when it says that it's the first page you showed that said it has to be approved by the town council, what it means is approved by as to form, which you find in the later document as you went through and looked at like page 3 or 4. They actually used the correct terminology there, which said that it would be approved by town council as to form of the covenant. So the first page just wasn't worded properly, I believe. I don't know if that helps at all, but generally, I
It
don't know
does.
if any
It does.
permits get issued up there for construction, because they should not have been issued.
Well, see, this is the thing, Gordon. These,
Yeah.
what this seems to say is that the subdivider, they must have thought that the subdivider can't sell lots until they finish the infrastructure improvements.
And that's, well, it's correct. If someone
did.
decides to do it by land covenant, they can't do individual lots. They can only transfer the entire subdivision, not
But they did.
individual lots.
But they did. We heard from several individual
yeah.
lot buyers
Right,
who are now screwed because they
yes.
bought the lots. I don't know why their lawyer didn't tell them there was a covenant that prevented them from buying it, but,
It's exactly where I was going, is shame on their attorneys. for
but
not
they all
understanding-
bought. And they
Not
all,
understanding, no, go ahead.
and they're all sitting on these subdivisions, on these lots that don't have the work done. And everybody up there is trying to figure out who should pay.
Right, and they should not be able to get a construction permit because unless they're the holder of the entire premises up there, which now that if they've truly sold them off, then the whole thing's a violation of the covenant.
But aren't we making them doubly the victim then? I mean, if they were suckers enough to buy these lots without noticing the covenant, and now they have to pay for the utilities that weren't installed by the subdivider, they're doubly victimized, aren't they?
I would say they should talk to their attorneys about their choice, not the planning board. The
You and I
planning board
agree.
has two choices. You either do it by land covenant or you do it by bond. And if they want to get together as a group and sue whoever sold it to them, that's up to them. But I would recommend the board stay as far away from that as you can. And talk to Jeremiah, and maybe he has to file something, notice of violation, or that they're in violation of this covenant. I don't know. That's not my job. I'm not an attorney. But Jeremiah is the one who would make that call as to what the legal recourse of the town's board may be. But certainly no one can get a building permit. Now forget the occupancy permit. That's under a different issue. They shouldn't even be able to get a construction permit because, of this land covenant. Anyway. Yeah, it's a
Really,
mess.
what they're lacking
Yes.
is the electric up there, correct? And we were told that was it.
Well,
Mr.
there's a
Chairman.
lot of discussion about water and sewer, but I think that the electric and the wires and the transformers, I think is the main thing.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could. And perhaps Dave Forrest will remember this best, being a Board of Public Works member. But I do remember at the time, there was a lot of to-do, and I don't remember, Dave, if it was this portion or the other portion where the board kind of gave them a waiver for hooking up to municipal sewer the way it's shown, as in forced, but they allowed a very low pressure system to be installed. Do you know if that had to do with this development or the original one that was called a different name now?
Actually, it was for both developments. It started off,
Okay, Yeah.
yes, it started off with the first one, but it was extended. It even shows on a map, town map, the force main coming up out of the cul-de-sac in front on Pinnacle and going up into the cul-de-sac on Erskine. But that
Yep.
all the map shows.
yeah, well, they should have had some kind of sign off from the town DPW head at the time to show that it was done according to the drawings that were submitted to the DPW. Because if I remember right, it was a low pressure kind of a system, not like a good high pressure grinder pump station. They weren't required to do that.
Right, everybody pushed their own sewage to
Yes.
Laurel Street.
Correct. Under low pressure.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's, I just wanted to go back and make sure that there should have been at that time, whoever was a DPW person in charge, should have been there to witness certain connections and should have gotten, I don't know if the DPW, Dave, got bonds for things like that or not, or just assumed it was covered under this particular land covenant.
Now,
But I'll
usually,
stop talking.
it's an engineered plan we work off. And I would say that the lease should have something to do with that. And we also, I remember that we put enough capacity, made them put enough capacity so we could pick up the houses that are on Golden Hill Road up to what I call the extension to Lenox Dale. There's probably 6 or 8 houses they look like modulars. They'd be on the right-hand side heading towards Laurel Street. So there was at least enough extra capacity built into it for 8 to 10 houses. And that was during Chris Pompey's realm as superintendent. But usually we depend again on the engineer of record to guarantee construction and that it's built properly. I mean, we'll do inspections when you tie into the mains, but for the house, for the development, no. We go by the engineer of record.
Okay, so going forward with this group, I think just a quick, almost one sentence reply to them is that after review, it's not a planning board issue, a civil matter,
I agree.
and leave it at that.
I agree.
Okay,
Could I just pick up one more detail, Buck? There was the people last time brought up a certification from, I think it was SK, SOCO, SCOCO, wrote a letter to us in 2020 saying that the utilities had been installed. That was the other subdivision. That was the Pinnacle Way subdivision, which I didn't
No, it
realize.
wasn't. No, it was
No.
this one. It was this one.
it was the first lot.
Yeah.
They wanted the covenant released.
Didn't he refer to a 2004 approval?
I'm not sure, but they came in 2018. They showed us,
Yeah,
we released one lot because they certified, the engineer certified that all utilities are complete. So I guess they have to go to the developer and the engineer for any, now there is some discussion on, when I built my house up here, I had to use a generator to build my house. The reason being, it took forever for Eversource to come out and run the lines. I believe they don't have any houses built up there. So I would think that Eversource probably isn't going to come out and lay lines to a house. They don't do the transformers like all at once, I don't believe, do they? Or don't they do them as you build a house?
You're correct, because they don't know the size of the houses and the demand they're gonna have to meet.
Right. So they said the conduit is in the ground, but no wires.
That's correct.
That means that's done. As far as they can do, Eversource has to come out and run the to get to the transformer. So I think one of the gentlemen said he couldn't build a house And I don't think that, I don't know, but that sounds, if the utilities are in there, the conduit's there, you can build a house with a generator. People do it all the time. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's my, so it's just nothing to do with us. I don't think. I think it's a private development and they have to deal with the developer and maybe the engineer can help out on that. But they certified to us that the utilities are done in 2018.
Yeah, that was,
Mark Skoko of SK.
You're
Yeah.
sure that was for this Erskine
Yeah.
Park Drive?
It was for
subdivision?
Erskine Park. It was for the first lot on the corner.
the lot almost looks like it's on Golden Hill. It's the one that, as you're driving in, it's on the left-hand side.
Well, that letter said that the utilities have been installed, and I think you can read that letter to imply that they've been installed everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
if
the only
that's-
thing that I saw in that letter was that they were talking municipal utilities.
Yeah.
And municipal
Oh.
utilities are water and sewer.
Right.
Anyway, it isn't enough. I'm not annoyed enough about it that I want to
No.
change the outcome here. I think we
I'm
should
with
let
you.
it go.
I don't think
Yeah.
we have I don't think we have a say in it, to be honest with you, but
No.
Okay. All right, that's
Mr.
what we'll go
Chairman?
to them.
Yep. Mr. Chairman, Gordon,
ahead.
here. No, I just want to make sure that there isn't a miscommunication or a misunderstanding by people who may be listening at home. When Matt mentions you can build a house with a generator, that's all well and true. But in this particular case, when there's a development subdivision under covenant, land covenant, you cannot get a permit until all the utilities are in place, down the road, down the roadway, not necessarily over to the house, but down the roadway. I just didn't want people to think, oh, well, if they just get a generator, then the utilities are there and they can build their house. But you also, the planning board, if you look at the general law, you shouldn't be releasing lot by lot. When it's land covenanted, it's supposed to be the entire street, or the developer can also come back and ask your permission to put it under a bond and put up money with a bank. And then they can sell off individual lots so people could start building. They just can't get a CO until the roadway's in and the utilities are done, but the money's sitting in the bank so the town can take over, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's all. I just don't want anybody to misunderstand. The utilities have to be there and the board has to sign off on the land covenant or switch it to a bonding before anybody can get a building permit.
when you say utilities, Gordon, what do you exactly mean?
Let me see, yeah, what I mean is all the utilities that were shown and approved on the subdivision plan, which would be water, sewer, cable TV, those are usually shown. Telephone, hardwired lines are usually still required under our bylaw. If there was no waiver on sidewalks, you'd want the sidewalks in. Otherwise, those are the things that a developer would come back and try and bond with the board so that they could start recouping some investment money by selling off lots.
So are you saying that the electric company, it's not done until the electric company comes out and runs all the electric to every transformer?
I'm saying that, yes, the power needs to be in the street. Go back and look at the subdivision regulations.
Well, we didn't do the
It'll tell you
subdivision.
what has to be there.
We didn't do these subdivisions, so.
I know, that's what I'm saying, Matt. We'd have to go back to those plans, draw them up and sort of take a look at them if you're interested. Otherwise, leave it to the attorneys to do that.
Oh, I
I
don't
think
think,
so.
I don't think we should get involved in it. And it doesn't,
Yeah.
the other thing is we released one, I think we released one on that, but we haven't released the whole.
Right.
And
Oh.
that can't be met until everything is completed.
I think you need to be very cautious about doing any releases like that in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
Oops,
was,
sorry.
yeah.
I meant to lower my hand. Thank
So
you.
Gordon, if you're right, then the people who bought those lots cannot even begin construction on their houses until they somehow come up with the money to get the electricity and the transformers needed to get power to their lots. Is that right?
Based on the land covenant form of covenanting a subdivision, you're correct. And who'd be crazy enough to do that anyway?
Well,
Because where's the
somebody bought a
guarantee?
generator.
where now, but what are you gonna do? Move into your house when the generator providing your power? That's
No,
not.
I
gonna
don't know.
fly.
I don't know what, they might think there's a lawsuit pending or something that they're waiting
Yeah.
to resolve.
I think that the building department will be hard pressed to issue a permit to anybody when the land covenant's in place with the way it's supposed to be in place.
Okay,
Okay,
Sorry.
so we'll let them know that it's not a planning board issue, a civil issue. And leave it at that. Okay,
Make sure you let Jeremiah know that this is the stance. Have him review the language before you send the letter out. I think that would be appropriate.
okay,
okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Next up, approval of minutes from December 27th.
A motion to accept.
I'll second.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Matt,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Okay, any other topic? Anyone?
Sure, I'll bring up a few.
A few? Okay,
Quite quickly. And maybe people know. The gas station on Housatonic Street that's been abandoned since 1992. I'm
Mhm.
wondering, do we have any information on that? I mean, just out of curiosity, I'm just asking out of curiosity.
Just rumor, I heard it got sold.
Oh,
It was in the paper.
I thought it was, but it was an LLC to whom they sold it to. I was just curious. if-
Nothing the planning board can do about it.
No, I
That's
know.
none of my
that.
business.
Trying to, I'm just being curious. I am a curious person.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you said you had a few things next?
Okay, I think if I'm not mistaken, someone said the old bullseye might be taken down at some time in soon or
We
next
did
year.
appropriate money in the last town meeting for that.
Okay, and is
Not
that?
sure what the schedule is though.
Okay. And the last thing I have is, or I'm just curious if you have heard anything about Benchmark or the Price Chopper building.
10-foot pole.
What'd you
Stay
say?
away
Bucka?
from them. Stay away from them with a 10-foot pole.
Well, I realize that. I understand that, but I'm just wondering.
Well, it's
No.
not on the agenda for discussion, though.
Okay,
so
I'm not
careful.
discussing. I'm not discussing. I'm just wondering.
Just,
Okay.
well, what
Under-
you've seen in the paper, and
Okay, no, I
and I-
have.
they did
Yeah,
default
okay.
on their
Well, that's right.
brownfields loan.
I understand.
So,
No, okay, I'm just curious, that's all. I know it's not on the agenda, but you did ask if anybody had any comments or public.
that's just, yep.
Yeah,
Peter?
okay, thank you.
Just an observation. I watched the selectmen's meeting from a couple of weeks ago, and they have decided to go out for bids on the town plan project. So that, I guess the initiation of that project is delayed until they can get through the bidding process and pick someone.
Yeah, and I kind of think they're gonna have to appropriate more money at the next town meeting. Is that, what are you hearing, Beth? Anything or around town hall? Because it's not gonna come in at $50,000. Probably
No.
3 or 4 times that.
Yeah, it's gonna delay the process
And it'll be more costly.
a year, a lot more costly. I contacted another town that had recently done it through a private company and there's cost, I think he said 279,000.
I looked quickly at the specifications that the Regional Planning Commission submitted as to what they propose to do for the town. and it looked really good to me. It looked like it was quite thorough. There was going to be a lot of public input and a lot of sort of, scratching their heads up in Pittsfield and putting things together for us. So I hope that whoever we wind up hiring, I hope they wind up doing all of that stuff that the Regional Planning Commission originally proposed.
Well, that's what they're there for, Peter. All the towns pitch in some money and they get state money, and that's exactly what they're there for, is to help communities with that stuff. We have a vocal group that has kind of bullied the town into not going that route, is how I see it.
Well, whatever the reasoning, they did it. They decided on the 2-to-1 vote to go
Yeah.
out to bid. So that's what we got.
Yeah, it doesn't mean, I can't see why the town would pay 4 times as much for the same product. Who knows? I'm not sure if with a private consultant, will we have a part in that?
Well, I think that's up to the selectmen, and my own personal opinion is I hope we have a very large part in it, because the state law makes it our responsibility to do this.
Yeah, that's true. Any other comments from anyone?
Hey,
Yeah, my
Okay.
hand.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Beth?
That's okay. Oh, Beth or Peg? Okay. After that meeting, I did ask Britton to send me the last planning. And it was quite interesting. If you have a chance, I know it's not exciting reading, but it is interesting to see what they did a number of years ago. And it was pretty well written, I will say. And there are some things that we did in the town of Lee and that were mentioned, and some things we haven't done. And it was pretty interesting reading. And one was to take down the old bullseye. That was in there for many years. So it is interesting if you read it and compare it to what we did and maybe some things we could still work on.
Yeah, but that master plan was from around 2000, wasn't it?
I know, but there were some things in it that we really have done well with, I think, Mr. Chair, and some things, unfortunately, we haven't done as well as maybe we could in the future. I mean, all the statistics were there, which I think is, it would be interesting to compare the statistics when it happens compared to what it is or what it was, is now and what it was. So it was interesting. I did read it after there was such a discussion about it. And so, they do have all the facts and the demographics right up there at their fingertips, because that is what they do, which is always interesting in many ways. And the schools, it's boring reading, but it is pretty interesting in many ways. So thank you.
Yeah, I think most of you have dealt with Mark Malloy. He helped us with 40R.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
he's
he
the
does.
he's the total statistics guy at Berkshire Regional. It's really interesting what he comes up with. Pretty good. Beth, did you have something you needed to add to us?
Yes, I just wanted to let you guys know that the Agricultural Commission has invited you all to attend their next meeting, which is February 8th at 5. I'll send out reminders. I believe it's via Zoom. She didn't say it in the actual email, but they're excited to invite the planners.
We may get to talk chickens.
That's-
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Gordon
yes,
Daly.
Gordon.
I just want to make sure that you're reminded that if the group goes to talk to them, that it has to be a posted meeting and you got to do it 48 hours ahead and all that, just so people don't show up and start talking and have a quorum without it having being posted. And you'll have to keep your own minutes as a planning board.
If one person went as a representative,
Different issue. It's not a meeting then. If you have a
Right.
quorum, it's a meeting.
All
So
right,
that's all. I just wanted to warn you about that. That's all. Or not warn you, but just, reminder, just a reminder.
so,
Thank you.
Mark, maybe we should have people to respond RSVP to Beth so she can figure out whether a quorum is likely to attend.
right, February 8th. I might get too angry. You guys might not want me there. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be able to do that, so. Maybe, Peter, would you be available?
Yeah, what's the time again, please?
5 o'clock.
Okay, yes, I can do it.
Do I need to?
I don't think
Either.
so. Oh,
Beth?
well, if it's a quorum, we're gonna need minutes though, right?
Well,
Yes.
no, two of us is not a quorum.
Okay, but if we have three, it is
And
look,
then we won't have three.
we want, all right, if we have three, Beth, I'll take the minutes.
I
I'll-
don't mind. Might be
No,
there,
we
just-
can't do that. No, we would have to post it prior if we were gonna do that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if
So-
we post it prior and we
But
have an
I-
official meeting, then we have to take minutes but I still don't think Beth has to come because I could do the minutes. We
No,
don't
but
have to have-
I'm saying let's just make it so only two of us go. Is that
Oh.
okay with everyone? Then we won't have a quorum. That will
No,
be
your other-
representatives.
Your other members may wish to attend. Just
I'm
just
good
find
with
out
that.
ahead of time.
I'm asking them now.
I'm good with that.
Peg, would you wish to attend?
No, thank you. I'd like
I
to
mean,
know what happened at the
just-
meeting,
If-
obviously.
If we just gotta know, if you want to, then we're gonna post it as a meeting.
No, I understand, but at this point in time, I would say no.
But
No, I will not attend, Buck, if that's what you want.
no,
Okay.
no. I don't care
I'm
either
not
way.
going to attend.
I don't care either way, and I don't want any resentment that I coerced you
There
into
is
this.
no resentment. I don't wish to attend. Thank you.
Okay,
People should-
Dave,
People should attend
No,
if they
thanks.
want.
No,
yes,
thanks, Buck.
just so we know if we have to post it or not.
But you will report back to us on what happened at the meeting, of course.
Yes. Yes, I have an idea what's gonna transpire already.
Well,
The sky gonna be falling or what?
Oh, boy, I don't know. It's amazing, the amount of misinformation is out there about our proposed changes. We heard, Claire Leahy last meeting, and I've tried to address the few, and I encourage people to attend these, public hearings, and I don't know. They'll all come out for the town meeting though, and have their voice heard.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't mind accepting an invitation from another board. That's fine with me.
Yeah,
I got the time.
we'll do that. Okay, very good. One more motion?
How about Matt? You didn't ask Matt.
Oh, Matt? He didn't say he would have spoken up.
No, he
Matt?
said no.
I said I'm fine with it. I said I'm good with you
Okay.
too.
All right. All right.
to
Last
adjourn.
motion of the,
Move to adjourn.
okay. Aye?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
See you,
Night
folks.
all.
Bye.
Uh,